Well, hello everybody. Here we are at long last, the end of the mystery tour, which is going to end to your great delight with an introduction to the doll maker I admire most. Anna Brahms is here. I am here in her studio. And we are here today. Do you want to say hello? They're just all doll makers,
Hi,
doll
makers, doll lovers.
lovers of the work of Anna Brahms. Oh yes, whenever I post pictures of your work, Anna, they get a huge response
Oh, beautiful.
because everybody loves them.
Oh.
They're, as I said, I think that a feeling for magic is alive and well in the world, and you'd expect to find it among doll makers and doll lovers for sure. But I think, all right, so a little bit about the book. To put Anna at ease, she's invited us here to the most beautiful studio I have ever seen in my whole life, where I am so honored to be. But we're here to talk about Anna's dolls, but not talk about Anna's dolls, because Anna Brahms has a bigger project in mind, and that is a book about, I don't want to say a particular word, so I am going to say etheric guides,
Like that.
fairies. But we're trying to think
Fairies.
of another word for that. We can tell you guys because you're all simpatical with fairies and you understand. But as emissaries of nature, which Anna takes very seriously, so she doesn't want the book to be about her dolls or even about fairies as they're understood commonly, but as important messengers from the natural world. So we're going to just sort of have a conversation casually. We don't want to get too caught up in anything in particular, but we do want to discuss this book. Isn't that right?
Yes, lovely.
Yes. So the book. What would you call the book itself? Never mind what we'd call fairies or anything.
I think it would have to do, the idea of the book is about communicating with the fairies, not just about who they are, but how we humans are able to communicate with them, and how much it's needed now on this earth.
And needed
For-
why?
Needed. Because the way I see nature spirits, or that's another word for the fairies, they are the protectors, and I want to say they're protectors of nature, of all of life on this earth, and they are concerned, as we are and as we should be, about how we humans have been treating the earth and nature. And so they are more than ever willing and interested in working with us, with humans. And a lot of humans have been aware of them and even communicating with the fairies unconsciously. But I want this communication to be very conscious, and so that we can learn from them and get ideas and direction from them of what we can do to solve the problems, environmental problems that we've been creating.
And more than environmental problems too, I think it's almost like a paradigm change.
Oh.
So not just fixing what is wrong environmentally, but seeing the world in a way that would make that never happen again. Where people
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's beautiful. And even personally, for each one of us to kind of like expand our consciousness, that in itself is beneficial for the individual, but for the whole.
Oh,
for
yeah.
the whole. So yes, thank you. That's so important. So they have a lot to teach us, and I have been trying to also find out what it is that they can learn from us. What can we offer them in return? Because they could just give up on us, on human, and say, okay, nature will protect nature, but humans can destroy themselves, or
They could
but
do that.
they could, and some of them do that. I have the feeling that some of them just turn their back on us and are not interested in communicating with us. But there are quite a lot of them that have a real desire to communicate with nature, with not with nature, with humans, and they are interested in learning from us. So there's definitely things that we can show them and we can teach them. And I sense that, in spite of them kind of looking at us and thinking to themselves, they see us as kind of very dense, and they think that we are asleep, like we are walking around unconscious. But at the same time, they have a real admiration for human, and I can sense that. They really admire that, the depth and variety of our emotional life. This is something that they don't have in their realm. They don't have this experience of deep despair and grief and love in the way we have love. So they really admire humans, and we have to deal with life in this dense body, which is it's not easy. So we are, to them, in some ways we are heroes. Every one of us are heroes just for being born in a body and making it through life, for however long.
And fairies may not be mortal in the same way that we are.
They're not mortal, and they don't have egos, and because they don't have a dense body, they don't have the experience of living of being limited. And because they are not limited, they don't have to. They can create anything they desire. So they don't have any competition or any of what we consider our negative emotions. They don't have to deal with this. So that's why they look at us and they think, gosh, living in this dense body, and they somehow, some of them, each of them at one point in their life actually experience deep love and devotion, or that I really feel that they look at us with not just with contempt, but with a certain kind of admiration and honoring us. Yeah.
So if they can reach enough people, and Anna,
Yeah.
we were talking a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So although we have not scripted or planned this conversation at all, there is a little bit of a back thing. So
Okay.
we were saying that I think that children simply know the natural world better than adults do, and forget it, or are trained not to believe it, or something like that. But I was saying to Anna that you scratch the surface. The most skeptical is that belief. I think is pretty close to the surface. And do you think that you scratch the surface and there is that desire, that longing for what fairies. We're going to use fairies with you guys because you guys are all simpatico with fairies. I already know that.
Yeah.
When the book is written for the skeptical, Anna would like to come up with a better word that doesn't have so many, pre-assumptions about fairies. Because
Right.
fairies is kind of a loaded word. But for our terms right here, what kind of a world do you think they would see where if they got their message across the way that Anna is like the emissary of fairy. So if you can manage to get a message across and it takes hold among humanity, and what would it look like? What would the cooperation between fairies and humans look like, do you think, ultimately? That's fun to speculate about.
Yes. I think. Can you ask me that later on?
Sure thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Somehow it just feels like I cannot find the right words for it now. But what I wanted was, what I remember when you were talking is, or you were talking about scratching the surface, and when I teach people, and that's what I love doing, how to communicate with nature spirits, with the fairies, and and of course, when we make contact, um, oftentimes the sensation is of pain in the heart region, like real pain, and a lot of and many times my students feel that it's sadness, but it's really not sadness. It's just that the heart feels just so so open, and what we decided to call it is the longing. When you make contact, we're really making contact with this being that we have known all along, or that we knew as children, and when we open our hearts to them, and so the contact itself, that moment feels like your heart is breaking, or like a real grief, but better to call it longing. So it's kind of like meeting a long lost friend or lover. It's that feeling of
maybe coming home.
And coming home, exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the ways there are many ways. Some people hear sound or smell. I smell violets sometimes when a fairy comes into. But that feeling of the heart, of this opening of the heart that feels painful, is one of the signs that is most telling.
Well, that could be painful. Like if a heart that feels constricted,
yes,
then it's kind of hard to open, like an unused muscle, or that pain of opening.
Right,
like you say, not exactly sadness.
Yeah,
but
it's not sadness. It's the
growing
opposite
pain.
of sadness.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the opposite of sadness. But because it's so deep, we don't recognize it. As humans, I think that maybe aside from love, the deepest emotion we feel is grief. So when that's kind of the deepest, the depths of our heart, it feels like. So then when we connect to a fairy, it feels that way often. Just because it's so deep, and it's so we have longed for it for so long. And
well, it's not uncommon for joy to produce tears, is it?
Right. Yeah.
I think that things that people feel deeply. Beauty too, when you're really
beauty,
struck
exactly.
by beauty.
Yes.
There always is sort of a pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, so there is a recognition.
So that's the first place to look for the message that the fairies may be trying to convey, is in your own heart, do you think?
No, it's just one of the ways that they touch us. They come in with different messages, and they show themselves differently to different people, and that's one of the way that's a sure thing. But sometimes you just feel like, it's kind of like somebody is tickling your heart. You feel like giggling, or
a much lighter experience.
A much lighter experience. It's kind of like chuckling, or like like being tickled.
Spring or brook,
yes, right, yes. So sometimes they touch us in that way, and I think it depends on the connection of who it is that we are meeting, and what the meeting means, and and a lot of them are very humorous and funny, and they have great sense of humor and great lightness and playfulness. So often it's just that kind of like a giggly, like, I don't know what the words is for that. Like,
Giggly is pretty good.
giggly, okay. And I know there are other ways, there are many other ways. Sometimes it's just, sometimes they take your breath away. It's kind of like you meet such beauty or such that it's, you just,
I have experienced that looking at your own work.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes, I mean, I'm always astonished by every single thing that you make. I am amazed by, but there are certain ones, a particular one especially, when the very first time I saw it, it did take my breath away.
Yes.
But the book in a way is going to be almost like an exploration of the different ways that fairies may or may not communicate.
That's nice. That's a way to start it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just exploring. I don't have a plan. Yeah. So that's a good way to do that, really, to just kind of bring different, because that's what I do. I never see the fairies the way, they're never, I never see them as so clearly. They're mostly, I see them as I know their mood, I know their colors, I know how big they are. So it's seeing them in my third eye. I kind of, and I can, and when I give them form, I try to capture their essence. But they are much, really in nature, I see them much more fluid, and I wish I could,
kind of, they're like the dolls are more like a faucet of them. Like
yes,
an aspect.
Right. Yes, or
Not the whole.
like just a moment, capture, like freeze them.
Yeah.
Because they're so fluid and they're so moving, and they can change their mood too. But usually they have a message. They come with a message, and and I wanted to say that they're about their essence. That they're often they love beauty.
Well,
So
that they have in common with us, for sure.
So they love beauty, and some of them really just create the beauty in their own being, essence. They just appear to us. It's just very, very beautiful, and but they also love to play. They're just playfulness is their nature. They are never serious. They look at us human and they make fun of us because we always take ourselves so seriously, and we are so limited our thinking is dense too.
Yes.
And they're just like, everything is just, it's play, it's movement. And then the other quality that I want to talk, now that we're thinking of the book, is the wisdom. It's unbelievable, the wisdom and knowledge that they have. Is just, each one of them is a master, and they have so much to teach us and tell us. It's just such a gift to.
Oh, and I love, I know it's going to be a hard thing to arrive at, because it is kind of etheric, is a word that we've been using a little bit.
Yes.
And it's hard to, slippery. It's a slippery business.
Mm-hmm.
But that lightness, I like how you insist on that, that they have that wisdom.
Yes.
And I think to humans, we always kind of imagine wisdom like a big, heavy book as a
Right.
serious,
Yes.
serious, burdensome thing almost.
Yeah.
Whereas fairies, that gift, they give the gift that wisdom can be a lightness. Do you think?
Absolutely, yes. And playful,
Playful,
and
absolutely.
and joyous. It's just like knowledge. It just gives. When I get a message from them, it always comes with just such a. It's so enjoyable to receive it. It's always like, yeah, you get like. It's jewels. It's just so beautiful and yeah, and wise, as wise as can be. They really, and plus they really. I want to say this again. I know I said that before, but they have solutions for problems that we have no idea how to resolve in our dimension, and so yeah. Um, the way they solve a problem is almost. Did you?
4 minutes.
We've only got 4 minutes left. We've only got 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to. Well, we have more than 4 minutes left. But
Okay.
what would you say, Anna, to everybody about the book? What if you could like sum it up in a statement? Could a sentence?
Oh, I cannot sum it up with a
No.
sentence, but I'm so happy to have Maureen here because that my idea, my hope is that we together can put it, can work together to make sense of it.
Is there anything you'd like feedback-wise from people? What they think of? Anybody out there that has communicated with fairies? Please feel free to relate your experiences.
That would be
And
lovely.
I
Yes.
will relay them to Anna, who can read them on my page anyway. So all of you who have been following Anna's work through my page or through her own page, if you've had experiences with fairies, that would be great to hear about. Huh?
Wonderful. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Demon.
Thank you.